Well, hello, everybody. This is Mitch Weisberg. I'm here with Mind Shifting Monday with Mitch. And my guest today is Sophie Lechner. She's a fellow author. And we're both part of a Kindle flash sale where 55 authors gathered together to support each other's work because, as is a lot of you know who are independents or individual people, the platforms aren't in favor of us. We have to figure out how to beat the algorithm. So this is our attempt to do that. And I'll let Sophie introduce herself. I actually, well, I wouldn't. Go. I say that, and then here I go, continuing to talk. But I read her book, Unlock Your Impact, and the book impacted me a lot. So let me hand it over to Sophie, and why don't you introduce yourself, Sophie?
Thank you so much, Mitch. Hello, everybody. Sophie Lechner. I'm located in New Jersey, United States, East Coast. And I wrote Unlock Your Impact because a lot of entrepreneurs, and maybe this resonates with you too, um, love their client work, but actually hate doing their marketing. It's like, oh, I wish I didn't have to do it. I wish I could just, do this and clients would come. And I found that there are ways to do marketing in a way that is fun and that resonates much more deeply with your clients. And so I've captured all that in my book, and I recommend you read it.
And then just, actually going back for a minute to the Kindle flash sale, and
Yeah.
anybody can go. There's a QR code here.
Mhm.
If you use that QR code, that will give you access so you can look at the covers and read a little bit about each of the independent books. But you're the one who actually mentioned to me about this. So see, what's the value of people finding out about independent authors, and why are you participating in the Kindle book sale?
Yeah, there's actually a bunch of questions in what you just asked because the reason, so I've done it 3 times, I believe. This is my fourth, probably.
Wow.
And it's a way to bring back your book. When you write a book, it's not the end of the story, it's just the beginning. You have to be promoting it all the time and talk about it so that um, it goes out into the world and new people discover it. So it can get old after a while, right? So you're
Mhm.
posting, you're talking about it, you're going on podcasts. But this is a way to be all together in this project and promote each other's books. So that gets us to the question of independent authors. And I think there's a lot of difference between people like us writing a book and very famous authors, putting books out there like Seth Godin or whoever, right? Like they have a built-in audience, right?
Mhm.
But for us, it's we are pouring our love and our expertise and decades of experience into this one thing so that people can benefit from all these years of experience. And I think that that makes our content very, very rich, but at the same time, very hard to discover because we're just, our lonesome little self compared to Amazon and these platforms. So supporting each other is the way that we can get our content out there.
Mhm. And so when we think about unlock your impact, and you mentioned that you wrote it because a lot of entrepreneurs, whether you're doing coaching or whether you're starting a product business, you're selling to consumers, you're selling to businesses, a lot of people are focused on what their mission is, and then when it comes to talking about it and trying to attract new customers, it's like, well, I can't do that, like that's tooting my own horn, and I hate doing that. Just let me do the work. So how how does unlock your impact help them?
Yeah. So it starts with something that sounds very simple, but that is actually very profound and makes a big difference. And we can talk about it afterwards for what it did for you. But as you said, we start with our mission. So
Mhm.
we know that there's something we can do for people, and we're passionate about doing that. But when we go out there and start talking about the work, we forget to share the deeper why of why the work that we do is important. And so we
Mhm.
forget to share our mission, and we talk about the product, the program, the logistics of it, or even the outcome, but we forget about why it's important to us. And that is something that's so important to share, because as a reader, as a user, when I see that somebody is passionate and has a personal stake in why they want to do this work, I feel supported. I feel like they have my back, and it really becomes a connecting point between me and this person that I might hire. So that's the work that we start by doing, and it's the foundation of everything else
Mhm.
in the process.
And Um, and I guess then the reason why people should read Unlock Your Impact is if you are thinking about starting a business, or you have started a business and you'd like to grow or sustain your business more, um, probably the way you're thinking about selling that business is, kind of you centric. It's like, well, I want to do this because of blah, blah, blah. And what you do is you prod people to think more of, well, why would people pay you in order
Mhm.
to actually do what they want to do, rather than you telling them why you're doing the business.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Part of the work is sharing your mission and your vision. And a big part of the work is also to deeply understand your clients and your prospects, so that you can meet them where they are. A lot of the marketing that we do addresses people as if they were ready to buy, and we're just telling them, okay, this is the best thing to buy, right? Given
Hmm.
your situation. But we forget about people who are unclear. I mean, clarity is the biggest gift we can give
Right.
anyone, right? And so a lot of times our prospects are not clear on what actually the problem is, or what it is that they believe. Because if they were clear about why, they're thinking what they're thinking, and what clarity about their problem, they would have addressed it already.
Right.
And
Right.
so there's a lot of beliefs that are baked into their thinking that you need to peel back and uncover and help them face that and overcome it, so that they can get to that point where they're ready to buy. And then, they trust you by that point because you've already helped them.
Hmm.
So they choose you.
Uh, and then, so I could kind of talk about how that worked, how that process of,
Hmm.
going through the book, how that kind of worked for me. Um, you know, I was thinking, people know me because I do mind shifting, right?
Hmm.
And as I talk about mind shifting, it's, my goal is to reach, say, a critical mass of people on the planet, so that we all become better at being resourceful, resilient, and collaborative. And that's kind of a me centric, even though, I'm doing it for the world, right? But it's a
Hmm.
me centric way of thinking about it and talking about it. And what Unlock Your Impact really did for me is it really changed the way, it made me think much more from the standpoint of the other person, where, just to understand, most people assume that they already possess these qualities, and most people don't see that they're blind spots. And then it brought me through how, well, why don't they see the blind spots? And people, we none of us see our blind spots because of our biology and because of our cultural conditioning, which together interact and increase our reactivity and put us into autopilot behavior. And this then erodes our agency, and it replaces action with blame. And how many of us blame, like, oh, something, I'm really good at explaining things, but this person is being difficult, or, I'm always, I'm very resourceful. It's just that situations conspire, but it's not really my fault. And so we go into blame mode rather than to be they take agency, and the result is that we distrust people, we're tired, we're fragmented, um, and we're looking for some magic formula but basically we need to change how we show up. And so that transformation begins with curiosity, which is supported by the whole structure and practice of mind shifting. And then, it brought me through then, well, okay, if this is how people could be thinking about becoming more resourceful, resilient, and collaborative, it's kind of way of talking, really a way of talking about them, such as,
Mhm.
how does, asking people, how does that idea, the idea that how you show up shapes what becomes possible, how does that resonate with you? And that starts a conversation going. And then based on their response,
Mhm.
I can then respond, if that could make things easier, not harder, what would you want to learn now? And then keep that conversation going. And I think that that shift, which is the type
Mhm.
of shift that needed to be done around, my own practice of mind shifting, um, was transformational for me. And that's, one of the reasons why I thought that, unlock your impact is you know I bought it way before it was 99 cents.
Mhm.
I don't remember what the actually I bought the hard copy of it because I wanted to
Yeah.
take notes in it. But to be able to have access to that for 99
Mhm.
cents because of the Kindle flash sale is a tremendous opportunity, right?
Thank you, Mitch, for sharing that. I think it's a bit meta because you talk about mind shifting, and I'm talking about shifting beliefs about
Hmm.
it, mind shifting. So but yeah, it's going further than what it is we're saying, to look at the other person and say,
Hmm.
what are they thinking with regard to this particular thing, and then talking about that versus your own thing, right? So
Hmm.
that's the shift that needs to happen. And yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit? Sorry, we're flowing, right, the
Right.
conversation,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So who did you write mind shifting for initially?
Well, that's an interesting question because I initially I initially wrote a course, a live
Mhm.
course, and I wrote the course for college kids because I was invited to give a workshop. And
Mhm.
so once I wrote the course and I saw the impact it had on the kids, it was like, wow, something, everybody needs to learn this.
Mm.
And so I rewrote the course for teachers.
Mm.
And so, and basically in rewriting the course, it became three different courses: one to teach about the brain or resourcefulness, one to teach about how we become resilient in the face of failure or complex or complicated situations, and one in how we can work with other people to move forward rather than fighting. And I wrote the courses for teachers, and then it was like, well, yes, I want to make the impact in education, everybody can benefit. So the books were then written for regular people, and so
Mm.
at this point, two of the books are out. The one on resourcefulness, the one about how we learn how to respond rather than react, and then the third course, which should be the third book. So I'm calling it Volume 3, which is on conflict and collaboration,
Mhm.
which is as much about how we think of conflict as bad,
Mhm.
but actually many conflicts end up improving the situation if we
Mm.
approach the conflict with the eye towards, I'm going to learn and this other person is going to learn, and how can we both work together to solve this, rather than how do I get my way and how do I
Yeah.
prevent them from getting their way. So those
Yeah.
two books are already written, and then what will be this volume 2, which will be the third book, but volume 2 will be out, probably around January, February of next year.
Mhm. Mhm. And just to clarify for everybody listening, the first book is the one that's in the Kindle
The
flash sale
first
right
book is,
now,
yes,
although you can go and buy the other book,
yep, yep,
obviously, as well. Yeah, it's interesting because, thinking about conflict, the more diversity, this to me seems obvious. I know it's not obvious to everybody, but the more diversity there is in the points of view that are being aired and shared and discussed, the richer the solution is going to be. To me, this is a
exactly,
posit. This
right,
is, yeah, but yeah, we know that not everybody thinks that way. But let's put those people aside. And so conflict can arise, yes, when there are different points of view. But I love this shift that you're doing, that you're in, inviting us to make, which is that if there is conflict, that means that there are different points of view. And let's take the richness out of that and explore it
Hmm.
rather than just blocking our mind.
And
Yeah.
those three, they overlap so much because if you think about it, a lot of people avoid conflict and they become, let's say, pleasers,
Yep.
hyper pleasers. Like, I can't disagree with, I have to do what this person says because they're not going to like me. Well, that mindset is what's discussed in in the book that's in the flash cell, is stop your brain
Mm-hmm.
from sabotaging your happiness and success. And then the the specific ways of approaching another person, yes, they're discussed a little bit in that first book, but they're going into it in a lot greater depth in the third book, which is what are the different ways that we can approach a person
Mm-hmm.
when this other person is impinging on what our values are, or what our boundary, what we feel that our boundaries should be.
Mm-hmm.
How do you how do you express yourself? What are the different styles? And
Mm-hmm.
then um, and then also the information in what will be the third book, but the book on resilience is, what do we do when we try to approach somebody and we get rebuffed? Like, we say, no, I'm not going to do
Mm-hmm.
this, and then they object to it. Like how do we bounce back? And that's it. That's
Yeah.
what resilience for.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another thing that I find fascinating in your journey is that I often come across people who, well, not often, but sometimes, they're putting something out into the world. And I think to myself, wow, this is so important. It should be taught in schools. And, you actually did the opposite, sort of chronologically, started with schools and then broadened it out. But it's true, it's important. What you teach is so critical. It should be learned early, early. So I hope you're continuing to pursue that.
Well, and I'm thinking is unlock your impact. As bringing up AI as an example.
Hmm.
You know, a AI is, we have to be able to write our own story, and we
Hmm.
have to be able to advocate for ourselves, and we have to understand what other people's needs are so that we can meet those needs, and through meeting
Yep.
those needs, earn, have an occupation,
Mm.
have an employment. And so understanding how to unlock your impact, those tools we should be teaching in school, shouldn't we?
Hmm. I hadn't really thought about that, but it's true that definitely with the using of AI, with the use of AI, I should say, it's important that we really refocus ourselves on our humanity, and that's part of what you're saying is, yes, AI is useful, but only insofar as we feed it the right information. So I was just doing
Right.
an exercise on you know targeting your who's your target client, right? And
Mhm.
so redoing that with AI again, more in depth. It's interesting, but it's still all about what I'm putting in, what I'm saying about my customers, my prospects, and what they want, what they need,
Mhm.
and that's critical to understand, just as you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and and to a certain extent, we're in a little bit of a competition with AI. I mean, just look at, this is way, way off topic, right? But look at what happened to somebody who was, let's say, going into college 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What was the number one occupation that everybody was saying to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Coding, right? Oh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to learn how to. Okay, so now what's happening to those people who went into computer science and coding
Mm.
3, 4 years ago when they're graduating? There's no
Yeah.
job market out there for them because the basic coding information that they've been trained how to do,
Mm.
AI can do. We need advanced people who can solve problems, who can go in
Mm.
greater depth, but we don't need people who just can take an idea and write it into code.
Yeah. Yeah. I think more and more, all of the training for our future, adult life needs to be how to think,
Hmm.
because how to how to do something
Right.
is all becoming, easier and easier to do. Maybe not manual things, manual jobs, of course, is different, but um, so more and more we need to emphasize how to think.
And how to present yourself. And
Yes.
what you're doing is how do you present yourself as a human
Yeah.
being with your advantages? And to a certain extent, what I'm trying to do is
Mm-hmm.
how do you think? How do you think in order to be resourceful in ways that a machine
Yeah.
can't? How do you think to prepare for complex situations because
Yeah.
machines really aren't good at novel new situations? And
Mm-hmm.
how do you work with people because machines
Yes.
don't understand the nuances of people?
Yeah. Social skills. That's important to
Yeah.
learn and to hone, which could have been a little bit on the downward trend the last few years.
So I'm curious, have you, because it's you and me and like 50, 52 other authors. Have you read
Mhm.
any of the works of the other authors? Or are you working with any of the other authors?
Yeah, yeah. So I've read a few of them. I would say if there's one um, that to me was really, really the most useful, besides yours, obviously, is Robbie's. And I want to give kudos to Robbie Samuels, who organizes this project several times a year, but also for writing his latest book. Now, the exact title escapes me, which is quite pathetic, but hopefully, while I'm blabbing on, you can find it. But anyway, it's how to launch your book in a way that is going to really have an impact, and so to get a lot of reviews. Um, I used his exact methodology when I was launching my book, and it got me to, well, I don't remember exactly when I launched. I think I had a 60 or 70. I have over 90 reviews now. And reviews are so important because that's how you really
Right.
can, get to that level of credibility. So part of this project is to, get more readers, more eyeballs on our books, but also to get more reviews.
So I'm thinking that his book, because I think he has four books, but the one you
Mhm.
maybe
The
think of
latest.
Launch Your Book, An
Yeah.
Entrepreneur's Guide to Reviews That Drive Revenue.
Yeah. Yeah. Launch your book. Easy.
So if you're, for people who are thinking a book, that's,
Mhm.
you go to the QR code here and you find his book, and for 99 cents, you have a
Yeah.
wealth of information, right?
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Incredible value. I mean, a lot of these books are really amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I went, and again, for 99 cents a book, I think I bought 8 of the books because they were just
Mhm.
topics that interested me. And so one of the books that I read completely was the Reset Mindset by Penny Zanker.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay, I'll
and
remember
that
that.
fit very well with mind shifting also, but she has a
Mhm.
different frame. And so, I think people could read both books, but
Mhm.
it's like, well, pick up Mind Shift, stop your brain for 99 cents, pick up the Reset Mindset for 99 cents, read
Mhm.
the first 10 pages of either book, and then spend your time on whichever book you like better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then there was a woman named Cornelia Kawan,
Mhm.
who wrote a book, Change Your Energy, Change Your Life.
Yeah. That's a
Um,
good one.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I thought
Mhm.
that was a good one. And then
Mhm.
a woman named Amanda Slade, who wrote Evolve into Your All. And so,
Mhm.
spent a good amount of time on those books, and looking forward to reading some of the other books on the sale.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you read Chris Johnson, Pause, The Power of Pause, I think
No,
it's
I don't
called,
think
or is
I've
it
read
called
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good book too. I mean, I think it would work well, sort of a complementarity to yours, because it's
Hmm.
pausing, the whole power of pause and what you do in that pause, and you reorient and allow yourself the ability to not react so much.
Uh-huh.
So that's a good one. And the Leadership Dance by Stacy Larson also. It's not, it's about a corporate setting mostly, but I could still relate to a lot of what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm just looking now at some of the so there's the categories for these books:
Mhm.
book publishing and marketing. So for people who are interested, in a book. There's a whole bunch of
Mhm.
books for that. There's business communication, where Unlock Your Impact, I think, is
Mhm.
one of the
Yeah.
books in business communications. Um, and then there's personal transformation, which is where the Stop Your Brain from Sabotaging Your Happiness and Success
Mhm.
is. And then there's workplace communication and leadership.
Mm.
Um,
That's where Stacy's book is. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I guess if I were to put the mind shifting conflict and collaboration book, that's probably where I would put that book in the workplace communication and leadership.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, your other book. Yeah.
Um, I, there's a title here: Empathy is not a weakness.
Yeah.
Um, it's in my view, empathy is actually a strength.
Well, yes,
It,
yes.
the easy
I
thing is
plan
to
to
is
read
to
that.
blame, right?
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
the harder thing is to figure out how to empathize.
Yeah. To
Um,
actually do it. Yeah. Yeah. I
so,
plan to go read that one. Yeah. But yeah,
so
it's an
yeah,
amazing opportunity. Like 50, how often do we get this much extraordinary value in putting, if you put down $50, you could get all 50 books. You could be set for a whole year of personal and business development,
yeah. Or even
Incredible.
just for $15, if
Right.
you pick and choose,
15
you
books.
get the books that you think are most
Yeah.
likely to impact you, and then in
Hmm.
3 months, 4 months, you have another opportunity.
That's true.
There'll be more Kindle flash sales, and find another 10 or 15 books that you
Yeah.
want to pick up.
That's true.
Uh,
And the other thing I love about this is, you meet different authors. I mean, I introduced you to this one, so we knew each other before.
right.
But in the course of doing this, there's all these live streams that are happening all week, and podcasts and conversations, and you get, even in the comments between us, we
Yep.
get to learn about these other authors, and it's a great networking opportunity. And people can interact with all the authors, and it's great when you can meet new authors and discuss their content with them directly. Really
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, the problem is that I've done the calculations, and with my 35% that
Oops.
I get from Amazon for selling a
Hmm.
book at 99 cents, it's going to be hard for me to become wealthy selling these books, right?
Oh yeah, that's never the goal, right? I mean, if
Right.
you write a book to become rich, you're kind of sitting on a flawed assumption to begin with, right? So it's not about making money from the book, that's for sure.
So I was thinking, like, if you're an author and you're writing a book, this is a great opportunity to get your word out, especially if
Mhm.
you're using the book because you have a message, or you're writing the book
Yeah.
as an entree to
Hmm.
people finding out about you, because maybe you're a speaker, or maybe you're a
Yeah.
consultant, or maybe you're a coach.
Yeah.
But obviously, selling your book for 99 cents is not the way that you're going to become wealthy.
Yes, and even if you put it at $50 in between the flash sales, you're still not gonna get
Right. And you're still not going to get wealthy. Right. That's true. That's true.
even then. So yeah, it's definitely not about the money, and I think that's what characterizes all of us is
Mhm.
we want to spread our message, we want to share the ideas so that people can benefit from them.
Well, thinking about ideas for the Unlock Your Impact book, if people were to buy that book for 99
Mhm.
cents,
Mm.
which is a bargain, by the way, what are maybe three things that people could get out of that book?
Wow. I think the biggest thing is to kind of, it's really the minds one of the big things is the mindset shift away from marketing is something I have to do, it's a chore, it's a drag, it's putting the spotlight on me, I dislike that, to something that's fun simply because assuming that you think working with your clients is fun, right? This is my definition of fun, right? But if you enjoy working with your clients, it's because you are making a difference in their life. And marketing in my book, well, in my book as the
Hmm,
expression you go, right?
that was a
But
great
also
point.
in my book, I guess now.
Double entendre.
Um, Marketing to me is helping your clients to get from this obscure place where they're dealing with their challenge, but it's not clear to them what it is, and they're just sort of in the miasma of it, and helping them get clarity. So you're helping them, let's say, half, do half of the journey towards helping themselves, and then they get to a point where you can help them.
Mhm.
So when you look at it that way and you start to do your marketing that way, it changes everything. It changes your